Friday, October 16, 2020, a special edition of the Ray Hanania radio show brought to you by the U.S. Arab Radio Network and the Arab News newspaper, where I write op-eds, columns, and news. We're very proud to be sponsored by the Arab News, which is the Middle East's leading English language newspaper with editions and bureaus in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai, in Japan, in Pakistan, in France, bureaus in London, New York, and Chicago, where I am based. The U.S. Arab Radio Network was launched in 2005 by journalist and radio network and founder Laila Alhusini in an effort to energize and empower Arab Americans. Our show with the Arab News is broadcast every Wednesday through the election in mid-November. I have a feeling the election this year is going to go way past November 3rd. And also on special Fridays, the second Friday of every month, and Friday today, which I'm sitting in and filling in for another host at U.S. Arab Radio who was unable to make the show. So we have a great guest with us, and our first discussion is going to be about charitable work that our friend Vicki Robb does as program manager for Life for Relief and Development in the Detroit region. Vicki has been working with Life for Relief since January 1996. She has more than 24 years experience, leadership experience as a humanitarian, and her achievements have fostered both in-kind and monetary donations for the group. Her responsibilities include management of Life's programs and its overseas operation. Vicki, thanks for joining us this morning. I wanted to do a program that does some good. In the coronavirus pandemic, I want us to talk about the challenges that charities have in the Arab American and Muslim community, and I wanted to bring you on. I'm really sorry about the disruption this morning caused by the internet. I mean, the internet is the internet. What are you going to do? So welcome to the show, Vicki.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Oh, it's good to have you. So tell us a little bit about Life for Relief. We have just about 3 minutes, and then I'm going to go to break. So normally it'll be odd, but we'll keep you on for the full segment, and then we'll talk about boring politics at the end of the segment when we're done. But tell us a little bit about Life for Relief. What does it do, and who does it help?
Well, Life is a global humanitarian relief organization that was established in 1992 by Arab Americans. We provide aid to people regardless of race, gender, religion, or cultural background. We're a registered 501c3 charity here in the U.S., and we are also in consultative status with the United Nations, ECOSOC, which is the Economic and Social Council of the United States. Interaction, which is the largest global alliance of U.S.-based NGOs. And for over the past 27 years, we've distributed over $481.6 million in humanitarian aid and relief all over the world in about 48 countries.
That's a lot. And what kind of aid and relief? Because you know what? The sad thing is that especially in the United States, any charity associated with Arabs or Muslims, they always look at us from a negative way, and until they see the actual work we do, which is one reason why I wanted to make sure to bring you and Life for Relief, because Life for Relief is one of the phenomenal charities in the United States. You do so much good, and I've been working with you guys. I've done, I've emceed several of your events, which I love. The people that come out, the people that are benefited by your work. Tell us about some of the specifics that Life for Relief does to give the listener an idea about how this is such a legitimate and honorable charity, and they should see it that way if they're not familiar.
Yes, we do work in a lot of different sectors. We do emergency relief. Like just this year, we provided emergency aid to the Puerto Ricans during the earthquake earlier this year. We've done flood relief in Yemen, Sudan, and Afghanistan. We're in the process of drought relief right now in Kenya. We are actually working right now down in Louisiana and in Haiti, still helping with Hurricane Laura. We also helped with the blast in Lebanon, and we're still providing aid. We've shipped already 4 40-foot containers of medical aid and we ship 2 containers of dialysis machines in partnership with NAMA, which is the North American Arab Medical Association. We also are working on several projects. One of them is we're providing 1 million loaves of bread to Syrians, families in the north of Syria. We're providing university education to Syrian students in Aleppo. We're working right now on back to school in many countries. We're trying to supply backpacks filled with stationery and school supplies for children. We also have a new project that we're just launching. There's been a lot of power outages in Gaza, so the people are in need of solar lamps. So we're providing solar lamps to families in Gaza. We're also digging water wells in many countries. We're digging about 145 wells right now. We're in the process of that. And we're prepping for our Thanksgiving turkey and all the complimentary food items that we'll be giving to families in different parts of the country.
I'm sorry. Pardon? What's interesting was NAMA, the National Arab American Medical Association, phenomenal organization of doctors that they do so much. I've done several comedy shows for them over the year, and they have a great sense of humor. You know, you have to really be educated to understand my comedy. Otherwise, I get people that look at me and go, "Who is this guy? Get him off the stage." But what was fascinating about what you said, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought this is an important point. You mentioned that you guys went to Puerto Rico to help the people there. So it isn't just Arabs and Muslims. You help where people need help, correct?
Yes, we're all over. We're helping here in the U.S. We have a large program where we give books and school furniture to different organizations, including Native American schools all over the country. We've been doing that for about the past 10 years. It's a really good program. So we're helping everyone anywhere. We have no bias against anyone.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, that stereotype that we only help our own is not true. So Life and Relief really goes over a lot of countries, regardless of what your ethnicity and religion, correct?
Correct. In fact, we're doing hearing aid projects. Well, we had to actually pause our hearing aid mission trips because of COVID, but our plan this year was to go into, we did go into Guatemala earlier this year, but we were planning to go into other parts of South America and trying to help fit hearing aids to people that are hearing impaired.
How is the pandemic, and Mike, our producer, just mentioned that he did the break, so we can just go straight through to 8:30. We'll take a break then, and we'll do another 10 minutes after. But tell us about how the pandemic has impacted. I'm assuming it's made it far difficult to try to do what you need to do to help people. Has it been a burden in terms of getting relief and support to people out there that need it?
It has been a challenge. Fundraising, for one thing, has been a challenge. We've had to think of different creative ways to fundraise during this time. We also are working remotely like anyone else. So we're working from our homes, most of us, and we're handicapped that way and trying to plan, but it's working out all right. We do have offices in other countries, and the pandemic has hit hard at different times in all of those countries. We have offices in 8 different countries. We also work through partners. We've actually provided COVID-19 relief, including hygiene kits, food aid, masks. We're working on a ventilator project right now in Iraq. We've helped in 10 different countries to provide PPE and food aid. Here also in America, we've done a lot of work here. We provided Meals on Wheels for the elderly. We actually did a project with Providence Ascension Hospitals. We distributed gift bags to 6,000 recovering COVID patients in 8 hospitals here in the Southeast Michigan area. We've provided hot meals to workers in the hospitals, both here in Detroit and also in Texas. We're also continuing our food drives here in the U.S. Last Saturday, we just had one not a drive, food distributions in Potomac, Maryland. So we're continuing that effort.
Are you noticing a need that's greater as a result of the pandemic? I mean, so many people have lost jobs. People that never anticipated losing jobs. And I couldn't even imagine what I would do if I lost a job with all the things that I do and the responsibilities. What's it like for people that you're helping? Is it tougher for them, or is this just what you see all the time? I could never do your work because I would be crying all the time every time I saw somebody that needed help. And I don't know if I could handle the emotional stress of, so I admire what you and others do, first responders, nurses, doctors, and people that work with charitable organizations that help people that are in need. That need sometimes is so tragic, but how bad is it, and has it expanded? I'm assuming you have a lot more people that need help.
We do, in fact. What is sort of surprising to our whole team here in the US and kind of shocking is when we do have a food drive, you see the cars lining up for blocks on end, way back just to come through to receive a box of food. And here in the US, it makes you sad because you don't really think about poverty or hunger or people losing their jobs at the rate that we were, especially earlier during this pandemic. It's been a shocker and an eye opener for all of us.
Yeah, I've helped with some local governments to organize food giveaways. And because of the pandemic, we can't do it in a room. We have to stand outside. Everybody's wearing a face mask. Everybody's social distancing. And hundreds of cars are lined up like a traffic jam, bumper to bumper, move slowly snaking forward as we place the box of food in their car. Is that how you have to do that also?
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing at every one of our districts.
Wow, that's rough. And tell us a little bit about the support in terms of donations. You mentioned that that's been a challenge. I imagine with a lot of people now losing income, losing jobs, and losing income, fear of the future, giving probably is much tougher because the pool of people who are still able to give is getting smaller and smaller. Are you noticing a trend like that?
We have noticed that, and we've actually lost our ability to do face-to-face fundraising. Right. So we've had to rely on new methods of fundraising for our organization. We've established a phone calling bank. We're trying to call people, cold calling. We actually are trying to do more like email campaigns, mail campaigns, this type of thing to get our efforts out to the general public to see if we can collect donations to provide help to the people of the world.
Yeah, I don't know how it's so difficult, and even people who can donate, when I talk to them, they're like stretched to the limit. So a lot of organizations that I work with, political groups and government groups, we've been holding back on asking for money because there's only a certain amount of money out there to donate, so that people who normally donate to us can give to charitable groups like Life for Relief. And I just want to remind everybody again that we're on the line with Vicki Tobman. Vicki is the program manager. Robb, Vicki. Vicki is the programs manager at Life for Relief and Development. She's been working with Life since January 1996, and she has more than 24 years experience. Vicki, 24 years of working for charitable groups. I mean, it's when you go to school and you're growing up, you think, oh, you want to be, especially in the Arab and Muslim community, we all want to be doctors. Our parents go, be a doctor, be a doctor, be a doctor, or be a grocery store owner, or be an engineer. They don't tell us, I know, and Arabs are so charitable and so generous and so kind, they don't say, go out there and be a social worker to help the needy. But they do that in our culture. You know, we never turn anybody away, even an enemy that we're fighting with. If they need help, we're supposed to allow them to come in and feed them. So it is in our nature. But that's a really admirable choice that you made to get into it. Had you planned on being, you know, pursuing a different career when you first started, you know, in 1996, or was this what you were looking toward doing?
Well, I was doing this work. I really actually I started when I was 16 years old, working for Catholic Charities as a receptionist. You know, in the summertime, in the summer months, this type of thing. And it's something that I've really enjoyed doing, just trying to help people and serve humanity. And when I first started with Life back in 1996, they were a very small organization, barely established. They had no offices overseas, just here in the US, just trying to help wherever they could. Shortly after that, we started to expand, and I was traveling overseas to try to get our offices open in different countries. We started in Sierra Leone, opening there. Then we went on during the Afghan war. I went to Pakistan and we established our operations over there. Iraq came. We opened our offices there in Iraq after the Iraq war. And we just moved on. Jordan, we opened in Nazareth, Israel. So we've just kind of expanded since then. And yeah, I've seen the operation grow, and it's just been a wonderful, really career experience.
And I want to remind our listeners too that you do work in Israel. You do help people that are there. Nazareth is part of, you know, the pre-1967 Israel, and you know, you work in the occupied territories like in Gaza, which is under tremendous stress, and I feel oppression, and they need so much help. But you don't turn away from need even in Israel, which is country where some Arab countries and people are in conflict. You don't look at the conflict, do you? Conflict isn't what you judge things by, is it?
No, we don't judge things by conflict, but conflict produces need for the people. So we try to serve the people's needs. That's our whole ambition, is to serve the needs of the people.
And what's the toughest place to work, though? And have you been overseas yourself?
Yes, I spent 10 years, actually pretty much overseas, working to establish the operations of our organization all over the world.
And is it tough to do that overseas? I mean, especially where the need is.
Oh, it's tough. I worked in the war zones. I was inside during the wars. I spent about 3 months in Iraq during the war. I spent a lot of time in Afghanistan during the war. Yes, it was, you know, during the heavy war.
Yeah, I've interviewed people with that work in the medical field for Syrian relief, for Middle East relief. There are a lot of groups like the United Holy Land Fund, which is a great organization based in Chicago that does much what you do also. But Life for Relief is such a big international organization, and we're really excited to have you on. Let's take a quick break right now, okay, Vicki? And when we come back, we'll continue the discussion for a little bit longer. It's Friday, October 16th, and this is the Ray Hanania Show. I'm Ray Hanania, the special U.S. correspondent for the Arab News newspaper, a columnist and media consultant here in the U.S., very proud to be Palestinian American, very proud to be Christian Arab, and married to a Jewish wife. And I love to say that because it reminds people that good things can still come between Arabs and Jews. It doesn't always have to be a tough fight. Our show, the Ray Hanania Show, is brought to you on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK, AM 690 in Detroit, Michigan, proudly sponsored by the Arab News newspaper, where I write op-eds, news, and features. Their website is arabnews.com. We are on the line with Vicki, Robb, who is a program manager at Life for Relief and Development, and we're going to continue this discussion. But first, we're going to take a break. right here at WNZK AM 690. And then we'll take a little calls later on if you want. We'll talk a little bit about politics and stories about how Arab voter activism is really ramping up in Minnesota and Michigan, two states that are in, I call them sub-B category contention. These are battleground states. These aren't the top three battleground states, but Minnesota and Michigan are in that group of second-level battleground states, and they could make a difference for Joe Biden. So we'll talk a little bit of politics a little bit later. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
يا طفل غزة إننا لم ننسى حزنك ها هنا كل الصعاب تعيشها ولنا النعيم بذي الحياة يدعوننا بالحب لك لا ترضى أبدا أن يغور ماء الحياة ونورها عن وجهك الحلو المنير.
And in these times of the pandemic and coronavirus, COVID-19, places like Ishtar Restaurant, they need your help. A lot of these restaurants having, challenging times to provide great food and service to the public because they're under great limitations in terms of how many people can be in a restaurant, how many people, can be in their little outside patio. It's cut their income, and that is killing restaurants. A lot of the restaurants that are closing, when you look at the restaurant industry reports, a lot of Arab American and Muslim American restaurants and ethnic restaurants, other ethnic groups, are among the first that are closing because they have such a targeted and limited audience, customer base. So the bigger you are, and the more people that you serve, the broader your service, the easier it is to survive, even though it's still a challenge. But for these smaller restaurants, like especially Arab American and Muslim restaurants, where our food is very, unique, and you have to have a taste for it. And although it's spreading all over the United States, more and more Americans are learning to love our Arab food. I love to cook Arab food, stuffed grape leaves. I love to make that all the time. Stuffed zucchini, stuffed potatoes. I love to stuff everything, lamb and rice. But it's an acquired taste. And so those Arab restaurants, you need to go out, you need to support them and give them your support because they are facing challenges that are even worse than the mainstream restaurants are facing. You're here back at the Ray Hanania Show, WNZK AM 690 in Detroit, sponsored by the Arab News newspaper at arabnews.com. Bureaus in London, New York, and Chicago, where I am based. The U.S. Arab Radio Network was launched in 2005 by journalist and radio network and founder Laila Alhusini in an effort to energize and empower Arab Americans. Our guest is Vicki Robb. She is programs manager at Life for Relief, and Vicki was giving us an overview of some of the challenges that the charity industry, the service industry, social service, the needs industry is facing as a result of coronavirus. Vicki, I don't know other issues that you want to bring up. Tell us a little bit more about Life for Relief, anything that you want to make sure that the audience knows about your organization, how they can help, where they can go. Is there a website that they can go to donate?
Yes, Life, we are taking donations online at www.lifeusa.org. And right now we are ramping up for beginning the Thanksgiving season and also Christmas. We're starting a program to give toys and gifts to foster children throughout the United States. And also we have a winter program that we're working on now for overseas to give blankets and winter jackets to families, children and families all over the world. So you can help us out by going to our website at www.lifeusa.org, or you can give us a call at 1-800-827-3543. We appreciate all donations we receive.
Have you seen a higher response? Because the need is more recognizable today and so burdensome. Are you seeing more and more people actually reaching out to help? Or is it getting tougher to get donations and food and funds and things to help the people that need?
Well, it's been a little tougher to reach out to people because we don't have the face-to-face ability to fundraise anymore. So it has been tougher to reach out to people. But the people that we do reach out to usually open their hearts and their pockets and try to give as much as they can. And we appreciate that so much.
All right. Any other thoughts? Anything else you want to say? Life for Relief. Like I said, I've been to several of your events. I've been honored to be the MC a couple times, and I think I even did a comedy show there a number of years ago. So please, tell everybody that I appreciate all the work you guys do. A lot of times we focus on the tragedy, but we don't focus enough on the people that are there to respond to the tragedy, the need, the people that are there to respond to the need. So I think people like yourself who are doing so much, that you're able to dedicate your life to do this for more, for 26 years, is a very admirable thing that you're doing, and it's just so proud to have you on the program. Not everything is contentious politics. Sometimes we got to talk about good things like what you do.
Yes. No, really, that's what we're here for, is to help each other, no matter what, political or non-political. We all have to somehow come together and help each other. It's so important.
All right, Vicki, Robb, our guest, program manager for Life for Relief and Development. Their website is lifeusa.org. Lifeusa.org. Vicki, thank you for all that you do. Thank everybody over at Life for Relief and Development for everything that they do. Tell them they have a friend here in Ray Hanania. You guys have always been great to me, and anything that I can do to help you get the word out, I'm more than happy to do it. You're such an honorable group. The work that you do goes to help people that are in need, and I hope any Americans who are watching this recognize that you're a good group to help. The website again is lifeusa.org. Vicki, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us, Ray. We appreciate your help with helping get our word out.
Well, I'm going to go back to school and get a degree in technology now, because it isn't enough to have a degree in political science or journalism or a pre-med base. I was going to be a doctor before I got into all this. But with the way the technology is, there's so many issues, and it makes it difficult. So I apologize for the little disruption we had at the beginning of the show. But Vicki, thank you again. It was great to have you on the radio show.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you later. Thank you very much.
يا طفل غزة إننا لم ننسى حزنك ها هنا كل الصعاب تعيشها ولنا النعيم بذي الحياة يدعوننا بالحب لا ترضى أبدا أن يبور ماء الحياة ونورها عن وجهك الحلو المنير